The following is intended for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Welcome, Deadites. I state this in advance. This is going to get dark. I'll start you off around young Deku life. However, there are some changes. The Midoriya family genders have been bent, or at least that was the plan, but for an interesting tale to be told, I'm going to swap Izuku and Inko around entirely. To keep some aspects of his character, Izuku is utterly quirkless, and feared that his quirklessness would be placed on his daughter. His wife Hisana had a rather strong fire quirk, to the point where she was called the Living Flame. But sadly, she passed in a battle against All For One. Since the funeral, Toshinori has made it a point to visit often. Not just to pay his respects, but to see his goddaughter. Izuku wasn't exactly angry at All Might. He knew the dangers of being a hero would one day show their ugly head. Unfortunately, they picked the wrong time to do that. Inko had spent 2 years without a mother, but her uncle Toshinori would be there to see her grow. Another reason why Izuku is even letting him near her at all was because it was Hisana's dying request. Doesn't mean that he's not slightly bitter about it. He just doesn't let it show on the surface. Considering that Inko was like 3 when Hisana died, she doesn't really remember that much. Time goes by and Inko has to deal with being bullied for being quirkless. However, this time around it's not by the hands of Katsuki Bakugo. They were close friends to the point where people would call her Bakugo's girlfriend. They weren't far off the mark, really. A few more years go by and that rumor becomes, well, the truth. Now, young girls can be rather petty and cruel to other girls they don't like or have something that they want. So, Inko was not designated quirkless since she didn't have a certain bone. However, her quirk was classified as being dormant, and in this world, she may as well have been quirkless. Back on the subject of her bullies, though. It was the usual stuff, name-calling, missing shoes, sometimes tacks were in said shoes, and the girls never really invited her to any parties. She was made to be an outcast. What does Bakugo see in that quirkless wonder? She's like such a loser. Anyone would be better than her. Unlike with boys, her bullying was more mental than physical. However, one day a crew of bullies followed her home on a day that Katsuki had called in sick for. They live in the same complex, so she got his homework for him. Inko had been surrounded before she knew what hit her.
Excuse me, but I need to go home now. I have to get Katsuki his homework and then get home myself.
As Inko walks past, a girl grabs her by the ponytail and tosses her to the ground. These girls had enough of Inko taking up Bakugo's time. They would get the message that this loser should just leave him alone.
Okay, look, little Miss Quirkless loser. We've had it with you. What's so special about you that you think you can waste Bakugo-sama's time? He deserves nothing but the best. Inko couldn't let that comment stand. I'm sorry, but you seem to think that you're the best at anything. You are sorely mistaken. Only thing you've got going for you are your looks. Your grades are upon your athletic ability is 0, and then there's that horrible attitude. If you want to fight me so bad, then come on. But be warned, I've trained with All Might. Everyone there knew that wasn't a lie. Every so often, All Might would come to pick Inko up or would visit for the parent lunch program since Izuku was kind of working like a madman. The work Izuku did as a police detective was rather tiresome, but he was actually home today, and Inko had no time to deal with this girl. As Inko readied a fighting stance, the other girl actually used her quirk to blind her, and all the girls took turns beating her. Of course, this would only go on for so long, considering that they're out in the open. Inko guarded herself and took the beating until she could take no more. Her eyes started to glow green, and energy crackled around her. The girls who were attacking her noticed, but far too late. This moment of fear and anger activated her quirk. Leave me alone! A mushroom cloud could be seen from miles over. Response was immediate. Heroes were sent in to set up a blockade. Of course, the media was being nosy, but the area was high in radiation. When All Might had heard of what happened, he wanted to be there yesterday. But unfortunately, he was in the middle of a disaster relief effort on the other end of the country. That didn't stop him from making some calls. Of those calls, Gran Torino, Erase Your Head, Present Mike, and Endeavor. Endeavor grumbled, but he knew were the cards to be reversed that he'd do the same for him. These four were allowed to enter the ground zero. The explosion was contained mostly to a city block. As for the destruction and aftermath, imagine Chernobyl fused with Hiroshima. And crank that up to 11. So that area is going to be pretty much unlivable for quite some time. Once again, this damage was concentrated into this block. However, the entire quadrant of that town would be unlivable once again for quite some time. Radiation.
I don't know what he's expecting us to find. I hope all he wants is closure.
Torino thought to himself. They split up. It was a good thing that their suits were made with their quirks in mind. Torino was speeding around, surveying the damage, but well, I'll be. Got a live one over here. Everyone gathered to Torino's location to see what looked like a naked young girl. As Endeavor got closer, he could see the similarities of an old acquaintance. This was Inko Midoriya, and she was the epicenter of the blast, and still alive. The Geiger counters were going off the charts. Angie, wait! She's the source! That girl's responsible for all this destruction. Endeavor had no fracks to give. Yes, I know. But I also know how gentle this girl is. Toshinori won't shut up about her. As Eraserhead was about to do his thing, Endeavor shot a blast at him. Have you lost your damn mind? She's naked and has no protection from the radiation. If she caused it, then it was her quirk. And without said quirk, it dawned on Aizawa as soon as Endeavor said it. She'd be as good as dead. I almost killed a child. Torino pats Aizawa on the shoulder. Endeavor nudges Inko a bit, and she stirs from her state of slumber. Don't panic, Inko. Your Uncle Toshinori sent us. Let's get you out of here, okay, sweetie? Torino, go get me a lead blanket.
Inko, I'm gonna need you to calm down. I understand you're panicking. Make a fist, bring it to your chest. Breathe in and count to 10. It'll help. I used to do that when my quirk first manifested, and I couldn't control it for moments. Torino returned with a blanket and a box. She's giving off way too much radiation for this to work, Angie. Gotta put her in the box. Angie was furious. Absolutely not. She is a 7-year-old girl. Have you gone bonkers, old man? Don't worry, Inko. I won't let them put you in that box, like you're some sort of item that needs to be transferred. His father instincts were kind of triggered here. Well, basic father instincts. For the most part, we're still dealing with basic Endeavor, but he's improved to a point. There's some things that not even, say what you will, bad father Endeavor would do to a child. This is one of them. Inko was stuck on the word quirk, and Angie was still smiling, albeit a grim one. She's seen that smile before. Inko is a smart cookie, so she did the math and got in the box.
I have a newly awoken quirk, and it did this, didn't it? Mr. Torino is right for treating me like a bomb, she says in shock when she realizes how many lives her hands have been stained with. She retells everything that happened as she gets in the box, and everyone believed her. This was an awakening under duress, and if anything, her bullies would be to blame, but she was still in shock, especially when she realized where she was. She was at her home. Am I a murderer? Endeavor answered without missing a beat. No, sweetie, you're not. You had no idea this was going to happen. Bad people were going to do bad things to you, and you snapped. While it may not have been to this level, I harmed someone dear to me when my quirk first emerged. Inko thought about it. I'll stay in the box for now. I'm calm right now, but when the shock goes away, I could blow again. Lock me up and throw away the key. We all know that that's not going to happen. Inko got in the box, and Endeavor stayed near it at all times. A few hours go by, and Inko was calm. She knocked on the box gently and was let out by Endeavor, who was alone in an odd-looking room with her and wearing a suit. Here, put these on. They've been tailor-made to be able to handle you. Your quirk has been given a name by the masses. Would you like to hear it, dear? Inko nodded. She may be a child, but she was prepared to take the responsibility for the lives she had taken. They call your quirk Meltdown, which seems fitting. You seem to be able to create energy, and the doctors seem to believe that it was your heightened state of fear and anger that caused your radioactive meltdown. Look, sweetheart, I won't sugarcoat this. You took out an entire quadrant of town. That area is basically Hiroshima. Now, for the part that's going to hurt. Everyone you know and love, short of Toshinori, is gone. No one survived that blast, dear. The blast and the radiation, it did a lot of damage. Inko looked at Enji. But Katsuki's right over there. He survived. He's just really sick. Enji looked in an area that he knew was empty. He came to the conclusion that she held on to not her father, but her boyfriend to safekeep her mind. It was with a heavy heart that he had to lift the veil of denial from her. Inko, she stopped him. I know, damn it! Just let me have this dream for a bit. Inko got angry, and the Geiger counters went off again. When she noticed the look of not fear but concern in Enji's eyes, Inko utilized a little trick, and it worked. The energy receded into her, and the readings went down to safe levels. See, I told you it would work. Now, life is going to be hard, but I think I can help you with that once we get a support item or two made for you. Toshinori arrived a day later and was ready to take her in, but
I want to live with Mr. Enji. He's helped me so much already. Without him, I might have gone full meltdown.
Toshinori wanted to protest, but to be honest, he had no idea how to raise a kid. Sure, he's watched her from time to time, but he's not parent material. Enji, have you cleared this with your family? The answer was no, but they'd have to deal with it. The item granted to her was bulky and not cute at all. She's basically wearing a Quarian suit, but it beats staying in a radiation-proof room all the time and not being able to go out at all. Of course, Enji took precautions of having such a room ready for Inko so she wouldn't have to wear the whole suit all the time. She'd be able to at least sleep without the thing on that way. So, as far as the room goes, yeah, if you've ever watched Doom Patrol, it's essentially Larry's room. As you'd imagine, Inko was not given a warm procession by the Todoroki children. They thought, who is this kid and why is Dad being so nice to her? What's so special about her? Why is he spoiling this child? She's not even his kid. However, when Enji caught wind of the grief and shade that, his children were throwing at Inko, he purposefully waited for Inko to go to her room for the night. Look here, I understand that I haven't been the nicest of fathers to you, and that's going to change. I swear it. But don't go bringing those negative feelings you have towards me to her. You know that massive explosion that left radiation in an area? Well, that was her. She was being beaten by a group of girls, and in her state of fear and anger, her quirk awoke, explosively. Please, I beg of you, don't be petty with her. She's lost so much already. Her father, her boyfriend, and his mother were killed in that explosion. She's hurting and needs to be shown, if not love and friendship, at least delicacy. If I didn't take her in, they were going to lock her up in a facility and use her as a human nuclear power plant. Everyone had a double take at that. A few greedy sleazeballs dropped the matter when the four heroes involved and All Might threatened to go public with that information. For at least one day, they had been using her that way. But of course, said sleazeballs wouldn't live to cash in their little checks. Enji got a text on his phone saying, I did the laundry, and he replied, sorry, you have the wrong number. A smile was on his face. Ray pulled Enji to the side.
All things considered, I don't mind. But don't think I'm going to allow you to take a back seat on this one like you have with our kids. You brought her here, and she seems to respect you. I will not raise her alone. Do you hear me?
A smirk could be seen on Enji's face. He liked the fire in Ray's eyes at that moment. Enji grabbed some wine and Ray chilled it for their enjoyment. Before he could drink, he said, yes, ma'am.
If you liked that, let's get a United States smash on that like button. If you're not subscribed, consider going full cowling with that subscribe button. And let's go plus ultra with the notifications. Ring that bell, baby. Rest easy, Deadites. And remember, the night is ours.